Well, welcome everybody. My name is Jeff Whitaker. I will thank you for joining our Achieving High Availability in the Cloud webcast. I'm actually the product marketing manager for our cloud solutions at NetApp, and going to be taking you through kind of a walkthrough on achieving high availability in an environment when you're in the cloud. Go through a few details and then get into some question and answer at the end. But before we really begin here, I wanted to just kind of mention a couple of housekeeping items. The webinar is going to be about 30 minutes long, after which we will have a Q&A session. So you can hold your questions till the end, or you will see on your webcast dashboard a questions tab. So you can enter those at any time. And and I will get to those as we get to the end of the session. So just simply type those in, and then we can go from there. So all right, I'll get started from here and get this rolling. So from an agenda perspective, I'll talk a little bit about, from a high-level perspective, what we at NetApp like to call the data fabric, and really how it fits into the hybrid enterprise or the hybrid cloud model, or whatever the various names that people choose for this, but really that hybrid model of multi-location enterprises. And secondly, I'll get into a little bit of detail on our NetApp OnTap Cloud platform, and then get into really the meat of the high availability story. And once we go through that, it'll be at a little bit of a higher level, talk about some of the details, and then get into a demo of how to deploy a high availability environment. And once we're done with that, that'll be a couple of minutes, and then we'll get into questions to follow. So depending on time, obviously I will answer as many questions as I can. But if I'm unable to answer your questions in the time that we have allotted today, then we will be sure to follow up with you via email at the end of the event. So just to really look at a IT challenge viewpoint, what people are addressing, what people are working, dealing with, one of the issues that stands out is really from a responsiveness standpoint, as you're trying to solve your business customer, your company's requirements, being able to respond to their needs really in a dynamic type business environment, trying to get the best you can from that perspective. And then while doing this, looking at all the different environments that are out there and all the different ways to solve your issues, being able to control the environment as well. And really, when it comes to control, I'm looking at control of data. As data really is a lasting component that you have to deal with, independent of where you actually run your operations. And then lastly is choice. As you're looking to solve the needs of your business, you should have the choice, to run the environments and run the services and choose the locations, where you want to best fit that environment. So really being able to handle these three key areas has driven a big push from the cloud direction. And really the cloud becomes a compelling component for certain use cases, right? So when I say that, we have a lot of mixed comments depending on what fits for people's business. Cloud is a place where you can run all your operations. A cloud is a place where you could run one or two things, or maybe not at all, right? But the key is it fits certain use cases, those variable use cases, those ones that require flexibility to some extent. But when you're talking about the actual applications that are very hard and fast, have very specific requirements and steady requirements for an environment, the answer may be on-premise solutions. So what we see moving forward is really a hybrid model to solve the enterprise environment. So having environments that run at one location, have it run environments that run in your data center, run at Amazon, right? So there's different ways to look at solving these solutions, and it really comes into a hybrid play from that scenario. So when we look at a hybrid environment, we've coined the data fabric as really the scenario of dealing with an environment of multi-nodes. And if you look at the diagram on the left, there's a lot of different ways to solve your environment, whether it's your private data center, your private cloud, however you deploy your internal environments, or you choose a hyperscale environment, right? So you can solve different service requirements there, or choose dedicated SaaS providers or cloud service providers for other needs. I mean, think Salesforce and think ADP and those folks like there. You've got different ways to solve your problems depending on where they go. And one of the trouble points that you have here is when it comes to data, when it comes to moving your data around in these different scenarios, there really is no cohesive way to handle it. So the data fabric really defines the freedom, mobility, speed of moving data across the different target locations and really having a single way to manage it, a single way to move it, a single way to solve that control scenario and manage your data across locations independent of what you choose. So really taking the data fabric and allowing you to realize the full potential of that hybrid enterprise environment. So I'll get into the specifics of NetApp OnTap Cloud for AWS. NetApp has a platform. So when we have, if I look back and mention, who NetApp is, NetApp really came about as a storage system vendor for the enterprise space, and we built our storage environment on an operating system called Data OnTap, which we now call just OnTap, OnTap software. And so when you look at the data centers, you look at the environments in the enterprise, we have a number of different platforms that we've done over the last 20 plus years to build a very large scale business on providing enterprise class management capabilities, control, efficiency, a lot of different capabilities in the data center. And as the world has moved and a lot of the direction is seen taking advantage of cloud environments, we decided to take that operating system or that software environment and say, why can't we run this actually in the cloud as well? So we've taken the core operating system from our what we call our FAS and our all-flash FAS storage environments, and we deploy this inside of Amazon as an AMI. So you can actually go onto the marketplace and choose an OnTap Cloud environment, run it on top of EBS storage, and then now you essentially have a virtual enterprise storage box where you can deploy NFS, CIFS, iSCSI volumes out to your application environments, and it looks just like what you do or what we do from a hardware perspective as well. So being able to move the data, a common transport to get the data from the data center into the cloud, and then use those same management and deployment options that we have for getting those storage to your applications. So there's a few key things that we do in this environment. We invented the snapshot copy in the neighborhood of 20 plus years ago. But a snapshot copy in this environment, it's became almost passe when we think of what people do with data. They take a snapshot of it if they want to have a local backup. But when we move into a cloud environment, we bring our zero instance or zero footprint type snapshot copy in there. You can take a look at your data set as it's running inside, for your applications, take a snapshot of it, not slow down the actual application that's running there, and as well not grow the footprint of your storage when you do it. So really looking at the cloud environment as focused on saving resources with snapshots, with deduplication. So the actual ability to hide duplicate blocks of data inside the storage environment, really to minimize the amount of capacity you have to pay for when you're in the cloud. compression to go on top of that as well. So things that really were very important to our customer base on the data center space, bringing that into the cloud space just as well. I mean, just because you move to the cloud doesn't mean that those items are no longer important, right? So moving to the cloud, getting the ability to get enterprise class storage efficiency in that space. We offer expanded encryption capabilities on the data sets. As I said, the ability to move data in and out of the cloud, or move data between regions within the cloud with our SnapMirror and SnapVault technology. And then for those that are looking at more of a development type scenario, being able to clone work sets. We've got a technology called FlexClone, which allows you to have a golden image. So if you're doing a development environment or you're doing a test environment on a data set, you can take a clone of that and replicate it across multiple work environments, yet you only have one footprint of data. All of the test environments think they have their own data, but you only have one footprint on your actual storage capacity itself. So really, again, another thing to help minimize the cost and minimize the resource spend that you have in the environment. And then all of this running across multiple access protocols. So NFS, CIFS, or SMB, Microsoft's protocol, and then iSCSI as well. And then to go along with all of this is a tool that we call Cloud Manager that really simplifies your ability to deploy storage in the cloud. A single GUI that allows you to point and click to launch new instances of storage environments, allows you to click and drag data back and forth to get that data on and in and out of the cloud. And then that marries up with the rest of the tool suites that we have for our overall storage environment, from System Manager to tools called Insight. And I'll get into a little more detail there as we go forward. And then expanding this capability, so all those features and capabilities that are defined in one instance, we now have the ability to run a high availability environment in the cloud as well. And this is what I'll touch on as we move forward, so I'll jump into that in a moment. Just to give a couple of highlights on Cloud Manager. I mean, this is really a simple tool that is our interface to the storage environment. So a management suite, a deployment suite to launch your cloud and manage your cloud storage environments. Makes it easy, as I said, a wizard-based click and add info to launch and deploy storage, a central point of control for all of your cloud data. We have a couple of different views of how you manage your storage. So depending on how, what you care about, do you want to manage the actual storage like a hardware environment where you have an instance that manages your storage, or do you just care about the volumes? So we have a volume view as well that hides all the storage system views, and you say, I need an NFS volume of X size, and it'll go choose and deploy the amount of environment underneath it so that you don't have to worry about that. As well, we manage Cloud Manager allows you to manage that replication to and from the cloud, and it is as simple as choose the location where you have storage, click and drag that location to your new location, and then a wizard will pop up and allow you to choose what volume details, how often you want to replicate. Very simple and easy method to getting your data from one location to another and setting up schedules to address that. And then, as I said, the managing this environment across the clouds, you do have access into all the storage details in the cloud, so you can really start looking at cost monitoring from that perspective, and then be able to move it from hardware to software to cloud and back to hardware again. This is all a single operating system that I mentioned before for our all-flash FAS and our FAS storage systems, as well as OnTap Cloud. So it's one overall storage environment, and this is a tool that allows you to go from your premise to the cloud and back with simplicity. So when we talk about high availability is a specific term of how to solve an issue, right? And the issue is really maintaining continuous and non-disruptive operation in the case of unplanned and planned outages. So the issue that you have is really the dealing with disruptions, and the way that we solve this is through a high availability solution. So what, just to highlight a couple of the important components of high availability, really what is it that you're looking for? And, running business critical applications, whether they're, highly critical environments or they're environments that you just don't want to deal with downtime on. You want it to always be up and available. And if something happens, your storage environment is still available to the applications that are using it. It may be for a reason such as complying with regulations like HIPAA, dealing with best practices that application environments require, and solving that through a high availability environment. It also helps reduce the need for application level availability solutions. So, a lot of these things can also be very expensive from either the application licensing directions or the environment that needs to be created in order to support it, or the time required to address it, whether it's the time to manage one application's availability scenarios versus another, the training and the knowledge base in order to support that, can often be rather expensive. And then as kind of all of these things is come down into a key issue is what does it mean to the bottom line, right? So if a system goes down, it definitely can affect bottom line. It can affect customer satisfaction. And then lastly, it really allows a scenario where you may be running certain applications that could fit into a cloud environment, but without a high availability environment, you may not be able to make that move there. So this really enables different cloud initiatives and gives you a couple different options now as you move into the cloud. You can choose single node environments for non-critical, and then now you can choose high availability environments for those as you move forward as well. So what are some of the key elements? So from a high availability environment, what do we see as important to our customer base or our customers that have came to us over the years and in the hardware space? Some of the key, probably the top objectives come into the recovery point objective or the RPO. So the ability for an environment to handle failure without losing data. So if a node goes down, if an availability zone goes down, if a network connection goes down, you do not lose data, right? That's kind of the imperative. And when we look at it, that's our number one objective when we solve solutions. So that there is no point where your applications think they've written data to storage, and if a storage system goes down, there's no loss in there. So your applications are always going to be consistent with the environment that they're writing data. The second issue is really that rapid recovery. So recovery time objective, or shortened to RTO. For our environment, we focus on having a recovery time of less than 60 seconds. So that's kind of the SLA in this environment. Being able to recover an environment. If a system goes down, there may be a slight delay in the amount of time it takes to get a response from the storage environment, but rest assured you will have a response within 60 seconds, and your environment will be running as normal on a secondary node itself. So really making sure, guaranteeing that you have data protected and being able to recover that as quickly as possible in the scenario of situation of a failure. Integrated. So making sure this is integrated with your overall storage environment. It doesn't require external software in order to make sure this happens. So if you're running an environment, you're writing data to a storage infrastructure, that storage infrastructure will handle all of its needs on its own and get you back up and running in the case of failure. Making sure you have centralized management. So these are more of the kind of the tools and the capabilities that make life better once you have addressed the first two, but fully automated. So this handles, these things are handled once you've set it up without you having to dig into it or having to make a click and move or anything, right? It's all done in the background. As well, there's methods to automate this through API paths as well. And then kind of the last one here is really the non-disruptive maintenance. So when we talk about high availability and we talk about failure and we talk about systems or going down, one of the biggest scenarios for HA is really maintenance. If you want to upgrade a node, if you want to upgrade an environment, being able to bring one node down, upgrade it, and then bring it back up and not have your operations disrupted in that process. So being able to do a non-disruptive upgrade or a non-disruptive maintenance item is really kind of that final key component. So this brings me back to really the diagram that I had showed you before about OnTap Cloud. But some of the key things here is being able to leverage OnTap Cloud in a applications that require high availability. We can do this across EBS magnetic as well as SSD storage, so the GP2 storage environment. We keep all of those features that I mentioned earlier, from storage efficiency and replication. Just because you're running a high availability environment doesn't mean it's going to impact your ability to address those needs as well. As I said, simple GUI to manage all of this, and I'll touch on that in our demo in a moment. And then being able to deploy this in the model that best fits your infrastructure. So a pay-as-you-go or a pay-by-the-hour type of a solution where you're actually handling that through your Amazon account, or purchasing licenses. You can actually work with NetApp and NetApp account teams or NetApp partners to purchase a license and use that license within this infrastructure as well. And then we support all major AWS regions. So when we're looking at the environments that we run in, it's across the globe from the AWS data center regions, including the GovCloud region. So we do support GovCloud. So any of you that may be on here from a government entity, you can run in the GovCloud environment and get these same capabilities. And as available, this is a software solution that you go onto the Amazon Marketplace and you deploy from the marketplace itself. So OnTap Cloud is launched and deployed from the On-Command Cloud Manager environment. So when you go through, you'll see, if you go to the marketplace, you will see a couple notes in there that just let you know that. You'll need to subscribe to your OnTap Cloud AMI in the marketplace, and then you go open up your GUI with OnTap or with Cloud Manager, and Cloud Manager will walk you through the wizard on how to deploy and launch these environments. So to talk a little bit about the architecture itself, so this is really a simplified view of what you're seeing here, but you've got two nodes that are, for an HA environment, there's two nodes. You have a primary node and a secondary node. And these nodes operate in either an active-active type scenario or an active-passive scenario, depending on how you launch it. And from a best practice standpoint, we recommend running one node in one availability zone and a second node in a secondary availability zone. And that really protects you against a scenario where an availability zone goes down. With Amazon, or there's an issue with networking in an availability zone, you have a secondary location within their region to support your storage environment. And this really protects you against a multitude of scenarios. So disk failure or volume failure from your Amazon resources. It supports instance failure. So if you lose a node, it will fail over to the secondary node. Network failure as well. So we use actually floating IPs for the NAS environments from one node to the other. So you lose a network connection to one instance. The floating IP model with Amazon will switch it to the secondary one and allow you to continue operation there. And that also goes across for availability zone failure. So if you lose, if Amazon, so happened to lose an entire availability zone, you would be protected against that as well. And just to comment a little more details on how we do this. I mean, we view everything in what we term a shared nothing type model. So we look at this as every node is its own node, And if something fails, we make sure that the secondary node has a full copy and access to every bit of information. So if you lose a node, you have a replicated copy on the other side of all the data that operates in the first node. So we actually synchronously mirror data. Whenever you write data to a node, we do a synchronous mirror in the background that copies the data into the secondary node before it ever responds to any sort of a write. So any application write that goes to a node, once you get the acknowledgement that that write has happened, you can be rest assured that the data will be in both locations at that time. And one thing that we do here as well, and it's really not drawn in the diagram, but we have what's called a mediator node, and it may be the little character in between the two that describes this. But the mediator node is there so if a node has a false failure, if something drops and comes back up and the secondary node comes up as master, you've got a mediator there to protect you so that you don't have two nodes trying to respond to any sort of application, any type of application writes or reads. So it's really a method just to make sure that both of your HA nodes are operating in a way that is friendly to your application environment. And, as I said, we do this across both NAS and SAN models. So across the NFS and CIFS model, we have that 60-second, less than 60-second RTO scenario. And in an iSCSI environment, we abide by the iSCSI rules and ALUA rules for this type of a scenario. So there's actually rules out there, and we just make sure that those are all addressed. And you get all the features, you get all those capabilities when you run in this environment. So just to go back to the key benefits, I mean, we're leveraging a mature technology here, right? So OnTap software has been around for 24 years in different shapes and forms and growth and expansion and capabilities. So we definitely have a mature technology where we've taken the operating system that runs inside of our enterprise storage systems, and we have taken that exact operating system and brought it over to the cloud. So this is not a different version of software. This is not a cut down version or anything like that. This is the same operating system you would expect to find in an enterprise hardware system as well. Data security, being able to get additional encryption on top of the environment that you run. So you can have an unencrypted environment, you can have an Amazon encrypted EBS environment, or you can run NetApp encryption on top of your data at rest. And what this really brings is the ability to take your keys for encryption and keep them on your own data center. And I know that there's a number of customers that we work with that they don't want to have the encryption keys in the possession of the provider that is doing the encryption. So this allows you to run your encryption on the cloud and keep your keys wherever you best feel they are needed. It's a simple environment, set up and manage. I'll show that in a moment. Enhances your application performance. So a number of different things that we do to give you performance capabilities. Cost effective. So really taking all those enterprise efficiency features. And when I'm talking efficiency, I'm talking about reducing your footprint by up to 90% or sometimes even more. So you may think that the applications may think that you have 10 terabytes of capacity, but you're only paying for 1 terabyte of EBS storage on the underside. So really minimizing the amount of capacity you need in the storage environment. Built-in support, so high availability capabilities for that, and just to expand on support is we do offer enterprise support, so NetApp full support across all of our OnTap Cloud environments. So when you purchase either on the marketplace or you purchase from a NetApp or a partner salesperson, you will get NetApp support, 24-hour support with that environment. Scalable, so you'll be able to grow this as your business needs. I mean, one instance can support up to 368 terabytes. And, simplified high availability testing. So if you're looking at those test or dev environments, those features such as cloning capabilities really bring a value, both as a HA or a non-HA type environment. So this is a bit of an eye chart, and it'll be actually in the slides as we go forward. But just wanted to highlight, we do have the two models here, where it's a pay-as-you-go off the marketplace or a BYOL license. These are supported for both single node and HA, and we have a couple of different price tiers on the pay-as-you-go model for 2 terabyte capacity environments, all the way up to 368 terabyte capacity environments. And really, as I said before, being able to get a software support plan with any environment that you purchase. And one of the key components here is really the simplicity of going out and trying this. So you can go out to the Amazon Marketplace, launch and deploy a full high availability infrastructure in Amazon in less than an hour. So you just need your Amazon account. You can launch Cloud Manager from the marketplace, and then create your HA environment. And I'll show you a piece of that here in a moment. Create your volume, and now start sharing storage for your application environments. There are in the actual copy here, you'll see when we post this, there will be some links to On-Command Cloud Manager. And a lot of information you can find on our cloud.netapp.com site. And this link, as I said, will be provided as we move forward. Or you can actually email our cloud architects, right? So we've got several cloud architects that are in the business of helping you out, right? So reach out to them via email, and they will be able to answer your questions. If you want to walk through how to deploy an environment, they can help you with that as well. So, just to give you the best experience possible as you go and try this out, we've got a couple of cloud architects on the call to address those needs. And from a key standpoint here too is from a trial perspective, all of our single node environments we do a 30-day trial with. So you can try out the features and functions and capabilities of OnTap Cloud as well as Cloud Manager at no cost from NetApp for a single node environment. So go out there, launch it, deploy it. You've got 30 days to play around with it. If you need more time, if you need a HA environment, then you can reach out to your NetApp rep or your partner rep, and we can help address any proof of concept type needs that you may have if you're looking at deploying and testing an environment. So from there, I'm going to jump over to a demo. So please be ready for the screen to flip a couple times. But this demo is on our website as well. So if you go to cloud.netapp.com/high availability storage, we have a video demo, and I'm just going to show you a piece of it, but you can actually see the full video at that location as well. So bear with me for just a second.
Let's go through and create a new OnTap Cloud HA system. To do so, come and click on Add Environment. Here we can see a few different things. We see our regular OnTap Cloud systems, the ones that we are familiar with if you've already launched one before. We also see create an OnTap Cloud HA system. So click on that and then provide it a name. So I had HA test. Let's do HA demo. And as before, we can add in custom tags and select our security. We have 3 again, either none, AWS managed for EBS encryption at rest, or OnTap managed encryption if I had it set up. Unfortunately, I don't, but let's go and click AWS managed. And here, this is where things are slightly different from a single OnTap Cloud system. We see we have 3 components here instead of a single component: Node 1, Node 2, and a mediator component. Node 1 and Node 2 are pretty self-explanatory. They're 2 nodes of our OnTap Cloud HA system, but what is the mediator? The mediator helps control cluster access and availability. If the mediator identifies an issue with one of the nodes, it will initiate a takeover of that node's workloads so the issue can be investigated and resolved. Once the issue is resolved, the mediator will detect this and identify the appropriate time to give back the workloads to the original node. The mediator also controls cluster management as well as NFS and CIFS access to the appropriate node via floating IP addresses. We'll cover those in the next step. Okay, that said, we still have to pick our region. We also have to pick our VPC where we'd like to launch our OnTap Cloud system, and then also provide a security group. And we can see we also have node 1, node 2, and the mediator to be able to pick the availability zone we want to launch in. So I'm going to pick a VPC. And you can see that there are some that have a red dot on them. And let's go see what that is. This VPC is not optimized for high availability. And down at the bottom, we see a little bit more information. Warning, it is strongly recommended that you use a dedicated availability zone for each OnTap Cloud node, as well as the mediator node, to ensure high availability of your data. So we strongly recommend that you use different availability zones for each component. If you are not configured that way, or if this is something that is not that big a concern to you, you are allowed to choose the same availability zone, or less than 3, but we will always recommend that you use 3. I'm going to go to my DFG HA VPC, and I'll just go down the line. So I'll use US East 1A, US East 1B, US East 1C, and a subnet. I only have one, but if you have multiple subnets there, again, those show up here. So 1 in 1A, 1 in 1B, 1 in 1C. And for a mediator node, we'll identify a key pair file. That's fine. And I verified the network connectivity between Cloud Manager and the selected VPC. I have. Next. Now, our floating IPs. Now, one of the things that we need to make sure of, though, is that the IP addresses are outside the cider block ranges for all VPCs in this region. Also, looking at more information, you can see the examples to say which ones you want to use. And the floating IP addresses are used for the cluster management interface, as well as the NAS interfaces for NFS and CIFS. So with this in mind, I'll just provide some IP addresses I know will work. And click on continue. Now here's where we identify the route table that will get updated. If you have multiple route tables, they'll show up and be available here, or you can just identify which one you want to update. So I'm not really using my default route table. I have created a new route table for this, so that's what I'm going to use. Click on continue. And licensing. This is where we choose the type of OnTap Cloud system we want to deploy, either Explorer, Standard, Premium, or if we purchase licenses from NetApp, we can apply those to our OnTap Cloud system. I'm just going to leave it as an OnTap Cloud Standard and choose the instance type, either M4 2x large or R3x large. I'm just going to go with R3x large. That will be the instance type for both nodes of our OnTap Cloud system. The mediator node itself is a T2 micro, so very, very small. Continue. And as always, all OnTap Cloud systems come with support. You just have to register. If you're already a current NetApp customer, you just provide your NSS credentials here. If you need to create an account, you can click on the hyperlink. You can also get more information if you need, but this is also optional at this point, so I'm just going to skip it. And since this is an OnTap system, we need to provide credentials in order to access it. So I'm going to do that here. And pick the size and type of the underlying disk, either general purpose or SSD or magnetic. The default size is always going to be 1 terabyte. That's where we've seen the best bang for your buck. And since I do want to process against this, I'm going to pick general purpose because it is much better performant than magnetic. Click on continue. And our create volume wizard. This is where you can go ahead and create a volume at the same time when the OnTap Cloud HA system is created. I'm actually going to skip this because I want to show you something. So let me go and skip that. And then review and approve. And this is where we have all the information for our OnTap Cloud HA system, the choices that we made, the cider block ranges, the capacity limits, and so on. And here we have two things we need to confirm before we can proceed. I understand that in order to activate support, I must first register this system with NetApp. That's fine. I skipped that. And then I understand Cloud Manager will allocate the appropriate resources to comply with this request. And we just have to click on that too. For more information, so this is a little bit different than the single node because we're deploying 2 nodes as well as a mediator. So we're deploying several EBS disks under the covers, boot volumes and root volumes. And then we have one-to-many for our data disks. And then we have snapshots to have a recovery point for each of the nodes. Then the EC2 instances for our OnTap Cloud systems, as well as the instance for the mediator. Okay. Now click on I understand. And then we can click on Go. And it's starting to launch. We'll give this a few minutes to process and then come right back. Okay, we waited a few minutes.
So that's all I'm going to show for today. There's actually a little bit more information there that can walk through, as well as a number of other videos that we have available for you to learn more, to watch how to deploy in each of these environments. Let me jump back now to the slides. All right. So I just wanted to note, as I mentioned the demo there, that information is available on our cloud.netapp.com. I think I already stated, but just wanted to make sure you guys understand that. And then questions. So first of all, I'm gonna drop in a poll here with a couple of questions as I go through and look through each of the questions that you guys have asked. Please take a little bit of time to respond, and I will finish this up. All right. I'm going to jump over here to the next question. All right. There we go. Looks like we had a little bit of noise in the background there. All right. And our last question here. All right, thank you guys. So let me jump into a couple of questions that I've seen posted here. So first question, and this is probably the easiest one. So there will be a recording available once this is done. So this is being recorded now. I will be posting this on the cloud.netapp.com site shortly after. So expect this in the next day or so to be available on that site. So if you want to go through and listen to some of the details again, or you want to see any of those explanations or have questions, this will be up there for your use. Second question, does OnTap Cloud include the licenses for Snap Center or Snap Manager? Yes, it does. So all of the features that I mentioned in the original explanation of what OnTap Cloud is, all of those licenses, all of those features are included with either the hourly purchase model or the licenses available, or the license for OnTap Cloud from the NetApp and partner sales teams. So those will all be there. All the capabilities are already pre-built in and available to you. Um, okay, let's see. I see a note here, and this sounds like somebody has a specific question about something they've done, showing some charges for Cloud Manager. Cloud Manager, and I didn't mention this before, but Cloud Manager is a free NetApp software, so we don't charge anything for that. One thing to note there, and this may be something you'd need to clarify with Amazon, but Cloud Manager runs on top of a very small instance, EC2 instance on Amazon or on AWS. That instance will get charged. The actual software itself and the capabilities, those are all free to run, but the actual instance that you're running on, there will be a charge for that and from Amazon themselves. How is OnTap Cloud HA ensuring no data loss without NVRAM? So this is a very specific question. So NVRAM is a component that we use inside of our hardware systems to ensure that any data write is protected the moment that it's written to the hardware system. So what we've done in a cloud OnTap Cloud environment is we've chosen a very high speed data location inside of AWS, and we write the data to that environment, and then we forward that across to the secondary node. And I may have addressed this through the comment before on the sync mirroring scenario, but we actually mirror the data to the secondary site, and based on the speed of that network link and that response time, there will be a response to your application once that data has been guaranteed across the wire. So it's not going to be as quick as writing to an NVRAM, but it will be a guaranteed write of the data to both sides before there's any guarantee that the data has, or any acknowledgement that the data has been written. Let's see. I got 15, 20 minutes. Okay, so let me see if I can answer two more questions. So one question was, will you support S3? S3 is a different storage type model for running the applications on. Obviously, you guys understand what S3 is, but right now we support EBS. We definitely are looking into other ways of supporting cloud storage on the back end. So keep your ears, keep listening, and you'll learn more about that as we move forward. Okay, so kind of a longer question here, but I'll probably address this one offline, and about HA and types of applications that run there. So to the person that asked the question about HA performance and maintenance, I will be sure that you get a response to that offline. It looks a little bit more in depth. So anyway, I wanted to take this and wrap up the webinar. And as always, feel free to reach out to the cloud.netapp.com site for more information. Whether we've got videos, we've got more documentation and details on that site, or if you want to reach out, as I said, there's the link that I had on the earlier one where you can reach out to a cloud architect and ask questions. So there's a couple different paths. If you do launch the Cloud Manager OnTap Cloud environment, we also have inside of Cloud Manager a chat window. So if you've got questions, you can always ask via chat in that environment as well. So we've got a couple different ways for you to reach out, but if you've got questions, feel free to reach out to us. But go ahead and give it a try. If it's something that makes sense to you, take a look at the environment, see if this fits your needs, and allow us to help you out. So thanks again for joining the webinar, and look forward to seeing a recording this posted in the not too distant future. Thank you very much.